बाद पुलिस बल पर जानलेवा हमले का प्रयास किया और जवाबी कार्रवाई में मारा गया। और आइए अब एक नजर डालते हैं देश भर के कुछ अन्य खबरों पर।
अयोध्या में राम जन्मभूमि के नीचे मिले अवशेषों के संरक्षण की मांग वाली 2 याचिकाएं सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने खारिज कर दी। साथ ही अदालत ने दोनों याचिकाकर्ताओं पर 1-1 लाख रुपए का जुर्माना भी लगाया है। जस्टिस अरुण मिश्रा की बेंच ने कहा कि राम जन्मभूमि पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के विस्तृत फैसले के बाद इस तरह की याचिका दायर करने की कोई वजह नहीं दिखती है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने 2 प्रदेशों में नए अध्यक्षों की घोषणा की है। भाजपा ने गुजरात में सांसद CR पाटिल को अध्यक्ष बनाया है, जबकि केंद्र शासित प्रदेश लद्दाख में सांसद जामयांग सेरिंग नामग्याल को अध्यक्ष बनाया गया है। केंद्रीय अल्पसंख्यक कार्य मंत्री मुख्तार अब्बास नकवी ने कहा है कि समाज के किसी हिस्से का सुधार नियमों में जकड़ से नहीं बल्कि नियत की पकड़ से मुमकिन है। दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के सेंटर फॉर प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट इन हायर एजुकेशन के कार्यक्रम में राष्ट्र एवं पीढ़ी के निर्माण में पत्रकारिता, मीडिया और सिनेमा की भूमिका पर अपने संबोधन में केंद्रीय मंत्री नकवी ने कहा कि सरकार, सियासत, सिनेमा और सहाफत समाज के नाजुक धागे से जुड़े हैं। साहस, संयम, सावधानी, संकल्प और समर्पण इन संबंधों को मजबूत बनाने का जांचा परखा खराब मंत्र है। केंद्रीय खाद्य प्रसंस्करण उद्योग मंत्री हरसिमरत कौर बादल ने वर्चुअल सम्मेलन के माध्यम से मिजोरम के कोलासिब में जोराम मेगा फूड पार्क लिमिटेड का उद्घाटन किया। 75 करोड़ रुपए की लागत से निर्मित और 55 एकड़ में फैले फूड पार्क से सीधे तौर पर 25,000 किसानों को लाभ होगा और इस क्षेत्र के 5,000 से अधिक लोगों को रोजगार के अवसर मिलेंगे। केंद्रीय सूक्ष्म, लघु एवं मध्यम उद्यम और सड़क एवं परिवहन मंत्री नितिन गडकरी ने ऐसी नीति या मॉडल के निर्माण की आवश्यकता पर बल दिया जो सूक्ष्म लघु व्यवसायों, कार्यों को वित्तीय रूप से सहायता प्रदान कर सके, जैसे कि मछुआरे, फेरी वाले, रिक्शा चालक, सब्जी विक्रेता, गरीब, स्वयं सहायता समूह शामिल हैं। वो कल देर रात वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस के माध्यम से पैन IIT ग्लोबल कॉन्क्लेव ऑन रीइमेजिंग MSME एंड लाइवलीहुड को संबोधित कर रहे थे। तमिलनाडु के तूतीकोरिन में पुलिस हिरासत के दौरान हुई मौत के मामले में मदुरई की अदालत ने 3 पुलिस अधिकारियों चेल्लादुरई, समथुरई और वेयत्थमुथु को CBI की 3 दिन की न्यायिक हिरासत में भेज दिया। गौरतलब है कि मामले की जांच के लिए CBI की टीम 9 जुलाई को मदुरई पहुंची थी। पुलिसकर्मी सांतकुलम थाने में पिता पुत्र की हिरासत में मौत के मामले में आरोपी हैं। जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस और सेना ने जम्मू में लश्कर के आतंकियों को पैसे पहुंचाए जाने के तरीके का पर्दाफाश किया है। गिरफ्तार आतंकी मुबाशिर भट्ट पाकिस्तान में बैठे लश्कर आतंकी हारून के कहने पर जम्मू से टिफिन बॉक्स में हवाला के 1.5 लाख रुपए आतंकियों के लिए ले जा रहा था। ये पैसे OGW के जरिए दिए जाने थे।
कोरोना वायरस वैक्सीन पर ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के इंसानों पर किए जा रहे पहले ट्रायल के नतीजे आ गए हैं। वायरल वेक्टर से बनी कोरोना वायरस वैक्सीन दिए जाने पर वायरस के खिलाफ प्रतिरोधक क्षमता पाई गई, साथ ही इसे सुरक्षित भी बताया गया है। इसके साथ ही अब इसे अगले चरण के ट्रायल के लिए अनुमति दी गई है। इंटरनेशनल क्रिकेट काउंसिल के बोर्ड ने आधिकारिक तौर पर T20 वर्ल्ड कप को स्थगित कर दिया है। दुनिया भर में फैले घातक कोरोना वायरस के कारण यह फैसला लिया गया है। ICC ने एक बयान में बताया कि पुरुष T20 वर्ल्ड कप अब अगले साल अक्टूबर-नवंबर में आयोजित किया जाएगा। वहीं फाइनल 14 नवंबर को खेला जाएगा। ऑस्ट्रेलिया में इसी साल 18 अक्टूबर से 15 नवंबर के बीच T20 वर्ल्ड कप होना था। तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ फ्रांस की फुटबॉल पत्रिका द्वारा हर साल दिया जाने वाला प्रतिष्ठित बैलन ड'ओर खिताब इस बार किसी भी खिलाड़ी को नहीं दिया जाएगा। कोरोना महामारी की वजह से बंद पड़े फुटबॉल टूर्नामेंटों की वजह से ये फैसला लिया गया है। 1956 में इस पुरस्कार के शुरू होने के बाद ये पहला मौका होगा जब किसी भी खिलाड़ी को ये खिताब नहीं दिया जाएगा। लियोनेल मेसी ने इसे रिकॉर्ड 6 बार जीता है। वहीं उनके प्रतिद्वंदी क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो ने भी इस खिताब पर 5 बार कब्जा किया है। और इसी के साथ न्यूज नाइट में बस इतना ही। मुझे दीजिए इजाजत। DD न्यूज पे खबरें जारी रहेंगी। नमस्कार।
बहू कहाँ गई थी?
अम्मा आज UHND था ना,
भाभी वहाँ गई थी।
वो क्या हुए है?
इस दिन ANM बहन जी स्वास्थ्य संबंधी बातचीत करवाती हैं।
वो बातचीत करें किस बात पे?
अब जैसे संतुलित भोजन और साफ सफाई है, अस्पताल में सुरक्षित डिलीवरी है, बच्चों के टीके, एनीमिया से बचाव और तो और बुजुर्गों की सेहत की देखभाल की बातें हैं। महीने में एक बार होता है ये अर्बन हेल्थ न्यूट्रिशन डे।
राष्ट्रीय शहरी स्वास्थ्य मिशन हरियाणा, स्वस्थ बने जीवन, हर बस्ती हर आंगन।
चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं। बच्चों और बचपन से हमें बहुत कुछ सीखना है। याद है जब बचपन में हमें खांसी बुखार हो जाता था, बदन दुखता था तो हम रोते हुए माँ के पास जाते थे और उन्हें अपनी तकलीफ बताते थे। माँ कुछ घर की दवाई जैसे काढ़ा हो, हल्दी हो, उससे आराम देती थी। हमें जरूरत पड़ने पर डॉक्टर के पास ले जाती थी और कुछ दिनों बाद हम खेलने कूदने लग जाते थे। आज कोरोना की इस लड़ाई में हमें फिर से यही करना है। अपनी तकलीफ को अपनों को बताना है, राहत पाना है, इलाज कराना है, खेलना कूदना है, जीतना है। इसी में सबकी भलाई है। देखिए, बीमारी कोई कलंक नहीं होता है। परिवार तो आपका भला ही चाहता है ना। तो चलिए फिर से बच्चे बन जाते हैं, अपनी तकलीफ अपनों को बताते हैं। कोरोना से हमें लड़ना है, डरना नहीं है।
अरे बबलू, लॉकडाउन खुलते ही टहलने निकल पड़े। महामारी अभी फैली हुई है।
सरपंच जी टहलने नहीं, काम पे वापस जा रहे हैं।
तुझे डर नहीं लगता वायरस पकड़ लेगा?
पहले थोड़ा बहुत डर लगता था, फिर पता चला कि अगर मैंने पूरी सावधानी बरती तो ये बीमारी होने की संभावना कम है। सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है ये मास्क। काम पर मास्क हमेशा पहनूंगा, समय समय पर हाथ धोता रहूंगा और दूसरों से हर वक्त कम से कम 2 गज की दूरी बनाए रखूंगा। खुद को, दूसरों को और अपने परिवार वालों को भी सुरक्षित रखूंगा।
अरे भाई, मेरी जिम्मेदारी बनती है तुझे चेतावनी देना, सो दे दिया।
जब देश के मेडिकल और स्वच्छता कर्मचारी रोज कोरोना वायरस से लड़ने का काम कर रहे हैं तो हमारी भी तो जिम्मेदारी बनती है अपना काम करने की।
बबलू, तुझे कुछ हो गया तो?
हजारों लोग इस बीमारी को हराकर ठीक हो चुके हैं और अगर किसी कारण मुझे ये बीमारी हो भी जाए तो सरकार ने अस्पताल में हमारे इलाज के लिए पर्याप्त व्यवस्था कर रखी है। ये घबराने का वक्त नहीं, एक दूसरे का हौसला बढ़ाने का वक्त है।
अरे ऐसे क्या देख रहा है? तू काम पे जाएगा, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, नाक नहीं कट जाएगी मेरी। चलो।
मास्क।
हाँ, मास्क मास्क।
अरे नाक तो ढक लो।
हाँ।
कोरोना वायरस से हमें लड़ाई जारी रखनी पड़ेगी, पर उससे डर कर नहीं, पूरी सावधानी के साथ डट कर चलिए। रुकी जिंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं, देश को आत्मनिर्भर बनाएं। जय हिंद।
Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching News Night on DD India and DD News, your prime-time destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to have you again with us. On the show tonight, Dynasty First versus Nation First. A Twitter spat between Rahul Gandhi and the BJP betrays the Congress party's desperation. Also on the show, India begins human trial of a vaccine for COVID-19 and the latest on the floods ravaging parts of India. Plus, news and updates from around the world. All that and much, much more coming up over the next 60 minutes. But first, as always, the headlines. IBM CEO Arvind Krishna briefs Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the company's investment plans in India. They discuss data security, cyber attacks, privacy concerns, and the health benefits of yoga. BJP President JP Nadda lashes out at Rahul Gandhi, says the allegations leveled by him are a brazen attempt to politicize the foreign and defense policies. The All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi begins human trials of an indigenously developed COVID-19 vaccine called Covaxin. More than 2,000 people from Delhi and adjoining areas offer to join the trials. The Rajasthan High Court adjourns hearing on the Speaker's notice to Sachin Pilot and 18 other MLAs to Tuesday. Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot claims support of 109 MLAs. The BJP says it is needlessly being drawn into the matter. More than 14 million COVID-19 cases reported globally. The death toll crosses 600,000. Nigeria's foreign minister tests positive for the coronavirus. And the ICC Men's T20 World Cup in Australia postponed due to coronavirus. The next Men's T20 World Cup now scheduled in October-November 2021, with another in 2022. All right, first up, a report on Prime Minister Modi's interaction on Monday with IBM CEO Arvind Krishna via a video conference. The Prime Minister congratulated Krishna on becoming the global head of IBM. Prime Minister Modi spoke about IBM's strong connect with India and its huge presence in the country, with over 1 lakh people working across 20 cities. Now, talking about the impact of COVID-19 on business culture, Prime Minister Modi appreciated the role played by IBM and India's Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, for the launch of an artificial intelligence curriculum in 200 schools. He said the government was working towards introducing students to concepts such as AI and machine learning at an early age. The Prime Minister said this was a great time to invest in India. He said the country was welcoming and supportive of investments in the technology sector. Now, while the world was witnessing a slowdown, FDI inflow into India was increasing. For his part, IBM CEO Arvind Krishna briefed the Prime Minister about the company's investment plans in India. He expressed confidence in the vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant India. And now to our cover story, a Twitter spat between Rahul Gandhi of the Congress Party and BJP President JP Nadda. Barely a few hours after Rahul Gandhi tweeted a video, JP Nadda lashed out at him on Twitter. This was followed by a press conference by BJP spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi. Take a look at the net report that delves into the verbal duel between the two parties.
BJP National President JP Nadda has hit out at former Congress President Rahul Gandhi. Training his guns on Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, Nadda said on Monday his allegations against the union government are weak on facts and strong on mudslinging. In a series of tweets, Nadda said the former Congress president prefers to believe the Chinese army instead of believing India's armed forces. Being weak on facts and strong on mudslinging. Attempts to politicize defense and foreign policy matters shows one dynasty's desperation to wash their past sins of 1962 and weaken India. BJP held a press conference on Rahul Gandhi issue and in an aggressive manner questioned Rahul Gandhi.
उनका बयान आधारहीन, तर्कहीन, तथ्यहीन और बुद्धिहीन है। उन्होंने उसमें बड़ा रणनीतिक परिप्रेक्ष्य यानी स्ट्रेटेजिक बैकग्राउंड देने का प्रयास किया है चाइना के संदर्भ में कि ग्वादर है उस डिजाइन का हिस्सा, वन बेल्ट वन रोड है। अब क्या बताया जाए, ये वन बेल्ट वन रोड कहां से गुजरता है? पाक अधिकृत कश्मीर से। अब क्या याद दिलाया जाए वो कहां से शुरुआत है? ग्वादर कहां है? बलूचिस्तान में। क्या याद दिलाया जाए कि ये कहां से समस्या कहां पहुंची थी? मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि डिजाइन क्या है, राहुल गांधी जी को समझते समझते 4 पीढ़ी लग गई।
BJP president in his tweet slammed Rahul Gandhi and said, since the 1950s, China has made strategic investments in one dynasty that has given them rich dividends. Remember 1962, giving away of UNSC seat, losing lot of land to China in the UPA years, MOU signed with much fanfare in 2008, funds to RGF and more. JP Nadda further said that for years, one dynasty has been trying to destroy PM Narendra Modi. Sadly for them, PM Modi's connect with 130 crore Indians is deep-rooted. He lives and works for them. Those who want to destroy him will end up only further destroying their own party. BJP spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi also questioned the opposition and said that from 1962 war to national issues, cooperation from opposition has been constructive, which has been praised by the then PM Jawaharlal Nehru. But in the present context, opposition has been playing a devious role as alleged by BJP.
किसी भी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के समय विपक्ष का व्यवहार कैसा होना चाहिए, चाहे 1971 का युद्ध हो, 65 का युद्ध हो या 62 का युद्ध हो, तब भारतीय जनता पार्टी नहीं थी, भारतीय जनसंघ के रूप में जिस प्रकार का सहयोग और समर्थन दिया था, उसकी नेहरू जी ने भूरी भूरी प्रशंसा की थी। सिर्फ जनसंघ ही नहीं, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ तक की प्रशंसा की थी। यह ऑन रिकॉर्ड है। यह हमारा चरित्र था और आपका वह चरित्र है जो आज दिखाई पड़ रहा है।
In another tweet, JP Nadda said, in recent years, be it Doklam or President, Rahul Gandhi ji prefers briefings from the Chinese instead of believing India's armed forces. Why does one dynasty want a weak India and a strong China? Many leaders in Congress also disapprove of one's dynasty's shenanigans. It is pertinent to note in the past few days, JP Nadda has been aggressive on Rahul Gandhi and in series of tweets has been questioning the deeds of Rahul Gandhi and his followers. Rajesh Raj's report, DD India.
All right, let me recap what has happened in the last 4 days between Rahul Gandhi and the BJP. Now, let's go back to Friday, 17 July. At about exactly 11:19 in the morning, Rahul Gandhi puts out a video. He tweets a video. The video is titled China Border Conflict. Now, in that, Rahul Gandhi asks many questions, including why China chose this moment in time for a military face-off with India in Ladakh. Now, he also goes on to tweet, in that same tweet, that since 2014, the PM's constant blunders and indiscretions have fundamentally weakened India and left us vulnerable. Empty words don't suffice in the world of geopolitics, unquote. So this was 17 July. Let's go across to the same day. In the evening at 5:26 p.m., Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar replies with a series of tweets, not one, not two, not three, but 10 tweets in all. The first tweet, he says, Rahul Gandhi has questions on foreign policy. Here are some answers. Our major partnerships are stronger and international standing higher. Witness regular summits and informal meetings with the US, Russia, Europe and Japan. India engages China on more equal terms politically, ask the analysts. Right, now to the second tweet put out by the minister. He says, we speak our mind more openly now on CPEC, on BRI, on South China Sea, on UN-sanctioned terrorists, etc. Ask the media. Coming up is the third tweet. He says, address the border infrastructure imbalance legacy. Compare 2014-2020 with 2008-2014. Budget up by 280%. Road building by 32%. Bridges by 99%. And tunnels by 6 times. Ask our Javans. Right, coming up is the fourth tweet. Some facts on our neighborhood. The Hambantota Port Agreement between Sri Lanka and China was concluded in 2008. Ask those who dealt with it. Coming up is the fifth tweet. He says, difficult ties with Maldives after India watched President Nasheed being toppled in 2012. Now stand transformed. Ask our businesses. Coming up is the sixth tweet. A settled land boundary 2015 with Bangladesh opens paths to more development and transit, and terrorists no longer find safe haven there. Ask our security. Seventh tweet. He says, Nepal, after 17 years, is getting prime ministerial visits and a swathe of development projects, power, fuel, housing, hospital, roads, etc. Ask their citizens. Eighth tweet. He says, Bhutan finds a stronger security and development partner, and unlike 2013, they don't worry about their cooking gas. Ask their households. Ninth tweet on Afghanistan. Afghanistan sees completed projects, Salma Dam Parliament, expanded training and serious connectivity, ask the Afghan street. And the 10th and last tweet on Pakistan, he says, which you skip, surely know the difference between Balakot and Uri on the one hand, and Sharm el-Sheikh, Havana and 2611 on the other. Ask yourself. Right, now let's move to 20th July, 10 in the morning. Rahul Gandhi puts up another tweet, a second video. It's titled China's Strategic Game Plan. Now in that tweet, Rahul Gandhi says the Chinese used the border issue to put pressure on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now he tweets, the Prime Minister fabricated a fake strongman image to come to power. It was his biggest strength. It is now India's biggest weakness. Now the same day, within just 3 hours, JP Nadda at 1:33 p.m. puts out a series of tweets. The first tweet says, we saw yet another failed edition of Project RG relaunched today. Rahul Gandhi was, as usual, weak on facts and strong on mudslinging. Attempts to politicize defense and foreign policy matters shows one dynasty's desperation to wash their past sins of 1962 and weaken India. The second tweet, this is the second tweet here. Since the 50s, China has made strategic investments in one dynasty that has given them rich dividends. Remember 62, giving away of a UNSC seat, losing a lot of land and to China in the UPA years. MOU signed with much fanfare in 2008, funds to RGF and more. Coming up is the third tweet put out by the BJP president. He says, in recent years, be it Doklam or the present, Rahul Gandhi prefers briefings from the Chinese instead of believing in India's armed forces. Why does one dynasty want a weak India and a strong China? Many leaders in Congress also disapprove of one dynasty's shenanigans. And the fourth and last tweet reads, for years, one dynasty has been trying to destroy PM Narendra Modi. Sadly for them, PM Modi's connect with 130 crore Indians is deep-rooted. He lives and works for them. Those who want to destroy him will end up only further destroying their own party, unquote. All right, so those were the tweets between the BJP and the Congress. Time for a very short break. When we come back, we'll have our guests over for a discussion in our In Focus segment. Keep watching Newsnight. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. You're watching Newsnight on DD News and DD India. Time now for our In Focus segment in which we discuss about dynasty first versus nation first. Yes, dynasty first versus nation first. Joining me are three very special guests, Ashok Tandon, R. Rajagopalan and Harsh Pant. Mr. Tandon and Mr. Rajagopalan are veteran journalists of repute. Mr. Tandon served as media advisor to late PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee as well. And Professor Pant is Director Studies and the Director of the Strategic Studies Program at the Observer Research Foundation, a think tank based in New Delhi. Gentlemen, welcome to Newsnight. If I can come to you first, Mr. Tandon, your thoughts, you've served in the PMO. Should the PMO at all react to those allegations leveled by Rahul Gandhi, and how did you find JP Nadda's and the spokesperson's refutation of those allegations earlier this afternoon?
I think Mr. JP Nadda has very rightly hit the nail on it by saying that all these rhetoric by Rahul Gandhi is a failed attempt to relaunch him as the Congress president.
Right.
So that is why, after a very point-by-point rebuttal of the allegations as far as the merit of the issue is concerned, were given by the very aptly given by a very articulate External Affairs Minister of India, Mr. Jaishankar, it was realized by the BJP that the war is not really on the merits of the issue, but it is more a political battle. So therefore, the
Absolutely.
BJP
True.
decided to field its political heavyweights. Leading from the front is the president of the BJP, Mr. JP Nadda, and other general secretary. See, the real issue is that it is certainly an attempt within the Congress to relaunch Gandhi as the Congress president. Now, one would wonder how come that many veterans who have been in the government of UPA 1 and UPA 2 are maintaining a steady side. Why only Mr. Rahul Gandhi is taking on this issue? Because the idea is that since he failed in his term as working president, there is a move to install him as the president. So therefore, he is issuing 2-minute videos almost on a daily basis. But let me take you back to the last Congress Working Committee meeting, in which he was, in fact, questioned for the way he has been attacking the Prime Minister personally. And there were no supporters for Rahul Gandhi. And in fact, many senior leaders in the Congress advised him that he should not be using such derogatory terms or personal attack against the Prime Minister, because it invariably boomerangs. And it was only Priyanka Gandhi who came to his rescue. And he said, well, if the party decides I should not be taking on the Prime Minister, I won't. But then he said, no, I am the only one who is attacking the Prime Minister. No other Congress leader is attacking the Prime Minister. So I think the entire issue is political. And there is a move to reinstall Rahul Gandhi as Congress president. And he wants to project his image as if he can take on the Prime Minister on foreign affairs. I don't know who has advised him to take on the Prime Minister on external affairs or the foreign affairs and diplomatic front, especially at a time when Prime Minister has already acquired a global image. He is ranked among the top 5 leaders, and there is no, at least, discordance within any other non-Congress opposition party. Nobody is questioning the Prime Minister's handling of the foreign affairs, or for that matter, the standoff with China. It is only within the Congress also. I can understand if it was Dr. Manmohan Singh taking on the Prime Minister on this issue, or even the present President Sonia Gandhi doing. It is only Rahul without any support from any Congress quarter. So that shows he is trying to re-establish himself, that he can deliver within the Congress party. So the move to call him Congress Working Committee. So Mr. Nadda has very rightly said that yet another failed attempt to install him or re-establish him or state him as a Congress veteran leader. So I think without going into the merits of this issue, because the whole world knows the merit, it's basically a question which is related only to the domestic politics of the India and also the internal politics of the Congress party, because there are still doubts in the minds of many Congress leaders whether he should be reinstated as the president, or whether he can deliver, whether he can lead the party from the front, whether he can win the election. So within all these question marks, Rahul is trying to project himself as a leader who knows the foreign policy. So therefore he can take on the government, or for that matter, the Prime Minister on the foreign policy issues. But as I fully agree with President, BJP President Mr. Nadda, that it is yet another failed attempt to install him as Congress president, or rather a successful leader who can deliver in the Congress party.
Sure. Fair point. Mr. Rajagopalan, Project RG relaunch, a complete failure. It's backfired on him and the party?
Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been a member of parliament for 15 years now.
Right.
He has not learnt anything, Ramesh. My understanding is when he said on Rafale on the floor of the House, that was disproved by the French president. When he called Prime Minister Chaukidar Chora, he apologized before the Supreme Court. When he went to Chinese embassy and he said that he did not meet the Chinese ambassador, later he has to say apology. Therefore, he has not been speaking the untruths. I don't say lie. I'm not calling him as a liar, but at the same time, he did not speak the truth. Today, you explained very well. Congratulations to the time this DD Doordarshan's the package you have done. All 10 tweets you have put it. all 10 tweets of Mr. Jaishankar, Foreign Minister, you have put it, and also Mr. JP Nadda's. What is the driving home point of Mr. Nadda's tweet? I want to explain. It is purely a political one.
Sure.
My understanding, Ramesh, are you hearing me?
Yeah, please carry on.
My understanding, Ramesh, the point is Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been saying only the lies. Simply, the reason being, he has been withdrawn, the government has withdrawn the SPG from him. That is one anger against the government. Today, Rajasthan fiasco, which he has failed to convince Sachin Pilot or convince Ashok Gehlot. Ashok Gehlot is going to form a regional party. Third point is, in the China one, it is boomeranging on him, because whatever the public perception about Rahul Gandhi has been, that he has been misleading the country with a negative impression. He is not leader of opposition, but he is leader of negative things. But at the same time, the real leader of opposition, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, has tweeted, you remember last month, that tweet was withdrawn. That tweet was deleted. So why? These are all certain things, internal contradiction in Congress, especially between mother, son and the daughter. That is why the China is now, they are creating a bogey, so that the real issue of their Rajiv Gandhi Foundation scam and also the fiasco in Rajasthan, these things will come out. That is the reason why Rahul Gandhi is attacking the Prime Minister. I said, surrender Modi. Today he says fake Modi. These are all certain things out of frustration, out of vituperative politics, out of, a revengeful politics. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is not an opposition leader. He is a revengeful leader. He is a speaker, the department of lies only. He does not say anything truth. Therefore, Mr. Nadda, what he has tweeted today, and I also agree with Mr. Nadda, he has said the right thing. Apart from that, Ramesh, I want to say one final comment, that the Prime Minister's popularity in India is at the peak, at the high. Much before the 2014 mandate, he got 2019 mandate, massive mandate. And now, whichever the private channels you take or the opinion polls, COVID, Corona, Prime Minister, handled it very well. China, he has handled it very well. The public perception is for Narendra Modi, and the negative politician, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who tore out an ordinance of the President of India. Now he speaks about China. Very, very, I am sympathetic towards the Grand Old Party. It is going from existential crisis to crisis. As Mr. Jairam Ramesh put it, Congress is in ICU.
Right, so as Mr. Rajagopalan said, the Congress is in ICU. It's stumbling from one crisis to another. Professor Pant, if I can come to you now, you're the foreign policy expert on this panel tonight on Newsnight. What did you make of the allegations and the clarifications issued by Minister Jaishankar and the BJP president? In particular, Rahul Gandhi seems to be asking, why did China choose this moment in time for the face-off in Ladakh? Now, some would say it is Prime Minister Modi's infrastructure development push at the LAC that has completely unnerved the Chinese. Your thoughts, Professor Pant?
See, I think there is absolutely no doubt that in the last few years, India has stood up to China like it has never done in the last 2 decades. And the result is that India is now speaking out, as I think the Foreign Minister Jaishankar candidly wrote in his tweets, that look, if you look at Indian behavior towards China, India has stood up on every single issue. India remains the only country that stood up to China on BRI, despite the fact that there was a danger of being isolated. Our friends told us, don't do that, you will be isolated. India stood up and challenged China on that. India stood up to China on Doklam. India has stood up to China when it comes to its operational foreign policy in the Indo-Pacific. Despite China complaining about the Indo-Pacific, India brought Indo-Pacific narrative and India made Indo-Pacific narrative the common, the parlance of contemporary diplomacy. There is no doubt about it. So clearly, I think if you look at the larger engagement with China, if you look at the larger engagement, strategic engagement with China, India has stood up to China. India has made it very clear what its red lines are. And India has also made it very clear that it is willing to work with China under certain circumstances. So if you want to work with China under the Wuhan spirit, it is very welcome to do it. But if you challenge India, then India will respond. And the fact that you had infrastructure development happening at such a spectacular pace in Jammu and Kashmir over the last 4 or 5 years, the result is that China is completely unnerved by what India is doing in terms of changing the ground realities. And it is perhaps for the first time that you are witnessing China reacting to India. You see, there have always been complaints that India has a very reactive foreign policy. That India reacts to what other countries do. This is the time when you are witnessing China reacting to what India has been doing and in the last 4 to 5 years, and how proactively India is shaping the boundary environment in Kashmir and in Ladakh in particular. So clearly for Indian politicians to make this a spectacle in terms